Hello everyone, today I'm in Berlin, Germany, which is not only Germany's capital city, but is also Germany's largest city. And I'm here in front of the historic entrance to Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate. And there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of history, and just across the street they have a large park area, and that is the Tiergarten Park. And historically speaking, one thing that I find very interesting is at one time where I'm standing, this would have been the Soviet side or East Berlin, and that would have included the Brandenburg Gate and everything that is behind the gate. And then the Berlin Wall would have ran just on the other side of this street, and on the other side would have been the Allied or West Berlin, and the Berlin Wall went down this entire street, and it would have separated the two sides of East and West Berlin for over 30 years. And just to give some background information on this, I don't think it's a protest. Their displays are all in German, but one of them says something about 30,000 Iranian political prisoners being executed in Iran. And what's rather surprising about Berlin and Germany in general is there's a lot of people living here from the Middle East, and you just really wouldn't expect Germany to be a big place for people to immigrate to, but actually there's quite a few people here from Turkey, Syria, and of course that's the Iranian flag, so people from Iran and Iraq, and even people from Afghanistan. And they say that approximately 30% of Berlin residents are foreign born. So there's a lot of it's a very international city, and like I said before, a lot of history just right here in this area. And just down the street, that building right there is the Reichstag building. And getting back to the Brandenburg Gate, this was built in 1791 by the King of Prussia. And Prussia was basically the predecessor empire before the country of Germany was founded. And this is a rather large structure. I'd say it's at least 6-7 stories tall. And then behind the gate opens up into the Pariser Plaza, and this is a public square that is named after Napoleon's defeat in the Battle of Paris in 1814. And it's like there's more public stuff going on here. Looks like maybe a wedding ceremony perhaps. Anyhow, there's also a lot of government stuff here, and foreign government stuff as well. That building across the street is the French embassy, and that would be the Quebec embassy. And then right behind me, this is the American embassy with the American flag in front. And of course there's lots of police presence here with all these different embassies. And then, according to my map, the British embassy is somewhere in this building here, but unlike the other embassies, they apparently keep a low profile because I do not see a British flag. But if you happen to be British and have been to Berlin and know if the British embassy is still here. And anyhow, some more background information on Berlin. The city has a population of approximately 3.85 million people, while the entire metro area has a total population of about 6.2 million. So it is a rather large city. And then this area opens up into a lot of shopping, restaurants, and hotels as well. And the hotels right in this area are a little bit expensive. This is the Hotel Adlon, and it is listed as a 5-star hotel. And one night here is $392 according to booking.com. And that's probably, I would say that's about double the average for Berlin. I want to say the average hotel rate is maybe around $200 right now. And that's still kind of expensive considering it is September and the tourist season is drawing to a close. And then here is one of the many entrances to the subway system. And don't want to get in anyone's way here, but Berlin actually has a very good public transit system, though one thing that I have found is that it's a little bit more expensive than neighboring European countries. A one-day transit pass is about $9 US. It's not too expensive, but it's a little bit more than I thought it would be, but still much cheaper than renting a car or taking a taxi everywhere. And I found you really don't need a car once you're here, though people certainly do drive, but the public transit is pretty good. And just some more background information that people might find interesting. It's a good idea to bring extra change with you, just because the public restrooms, they charge typically about 50 to 75 cents to use the bathroom. And I found it really doesn't matter, even if you go to a shopping mall with high-end stores, if you go to a McDonald's or a Starbucks, there's still going to be somebody standing in front of the bathroom with a change dish wanting to collect the bathroom fee. So that's just something to keep in mind, and it's a little bit of an inconvenience, especially if you don't have extra change on you. And that's just something just to keep that in mind. And also a few other interesting facts. Germany is home to the guaranteed income program, and what that does is it guarantees all German citizens 502 euros per month, and that increases to, if you have children, per child, that goes up to $348 per child. And anyhow, just getting back to our tour here, lots of different businesses across the street. There's a Madame Tussauds souvenir shop, and also I think that's a wax museum. And then across the street from that, it says the German Bundestag. I believe that's, they got the German flag up on that building. I believe that's just a federal government building. And anyhow, continuing on with the guaranteed income, approximately 7.6 million people receive the guaranteed income benefits, or approximately 1 out of every 10 German citizens. And Germany also has lots of other generous public social programs. One other is every new mother is eligible for paid maternity leave for up to 3 years. So if you have children, the mother is able to stay home with the children and still be paid for the first 3 years, which is a pretty good idea. And what's kind of odd is you would think with all of these different government programs, Germany would have a high birth rate, but that is the opposite is true. Germany has one of the lowest fertility rates in Europe at only 1.38 children per mother. So that's rather low and a bit surprising. And they have more generous programs here in Germany. The unemployment insurance pays 60 to 67% of your previous wages for up to 2 years. And then once those 2 years are up, you would be, if you still are unable to find employment, you would be eligible for the guaranteed income. And looks like this is some sort of memorial here. It says, "This is Ukraine, not Russia." And this looks to be a memorial to the fallen, killed people in Ukraine. It's rather sad. Pictures of graveyard and dead bodies in Ukraine. And then what's really odd about this is directly in front of this memorial, that is the Russian embassy. And this is a rather large building. It takes up almost this entire block right here. And there is the Russian flag on top. And it looks like they also have the whole sidewalk in front of the building closed. They have the red and white gates. And there's, I'm not sure if that's a Russian or a German police, but they have law enforcement in front. On the Russian embassy, this was built in November of 1952 by the Soviet Union. And at the time they occupied this entire part of what would have been East Berlin. And this embassy was last in the news in 2021 when a Russian diplomat mysteriously fell from a window and was killed. Apparently there was no investigation following this incident, and the diplomat was posthumously returned to Russia. And it doesn't say where from this building the diplomat fell from. And it's actually not that tall of a building. It's only about maybe 3-4 stories tall. So I'm trying to picture somebody falling from one of those windows. I guess it could be fatal, though being it's Russia is involved, there's probably a lot more to that story than what you read in the newspapers. And also it says that embassies are sovereign properties and they're not subject to local laws, which probably explains why there is no investigation, because they just, once you're inside of that building, you are basically in Russia, in a foreign land. Anyhow, continuing on, there's other German government programs that apparently are not as generous, such as the German equivalent to Social Security. The average pensioner receives approximately $1,050 per month here in Germany, and that breaks down to about 1,200 euros for males and 856 euros per month for females. And that is substantially lower than, say, the United States. I believe that would be at least 30% lower in the US. I think the average pensioner gets about, I want to say about $1,500 per month. Anyhow, we just passed the Russian embassy, and here's another business. This is called Aeroflot, and this is a Russian airline which was founded in 1923, so it's about 100 years old, and it's a publicly traded company. And before the war in Ukraine, the airline flew to over 53 countries and employed over 30,000 people. So it's was a pretty big airline. However, since the start of the war in Ukraine, the airline, a lot of other nations have banned this airline, but apparently they are still here in Berlin. And one other interesting thing is way in the distance there's a large TV antenna. And here is an interesting building. This is the Volkswagen Group Forum, and it's listed online as a Volkswagen museum, and I'm gonna have to go in and check this out. And then across the street there is a Westin Grand Hotel, and this appears to still be a rather expensive area. One night here at this 4.5-star hotel is $342. And then in the far distance you can see a rather large TV antenna tower, and that is the Fernsehturm Tower, which is a 1,207-foot TV antenna / observatory, and it is a relic from the old days of the Soviet East Berlin. And it just started to rain, so now is a good time as any to go check out the Volkswagen Museum here. And you also get a better view of the Fernsehturm Tower there in the center from this side of the street. And now entering the Volkswagen Museum, and some background information on the Volkswagen Corporation. They are not only the largest car manufacturer in Europe, but they are also the largest car manufacturer in the world. And this is the museum showroom, and here's a neat looking car. This is a Porsche 550 Spider, and looks like nearly all of these vehicles are Porsche. And what's interesting about that is Volkswagen, not only do they own the Porsche brand, but they also own Audi, Bentley, and Lamborghini as well. And the company has over 600,000 employees worldwide, and surprisingly, China is their largest market and accounts for over 40% of sales. And here's a Porsche Taycan 4 Cross Turbo, and this should be called the Porsche Museum instead of the Volvo Museum. What better day to visit a mall than a rainy day like today? This is the Mall of Berlin, and apparently a lot of other people have the same idea to go inside the mall and get out of the rain. And this mall appears to be both a European and westernized mall. There's a lot of European shops, such as the Channel and Pandora stores across the aisle. And they also have a lot of Western restaurants, such as McDonald's and Burger King, upstairs in their food court. And then what is interesting about this mall is in the basement they have 2 grocery stores. So this is a one-stop place to do all of your shopping. Got high-end stores and a mix of almost everything else. But just make sure even here not to forget your change, as they do charge to use the restrooms even here. I believe it's closer to €1. I'm now at the Bibelplatz, which is a public plaza that was named after the surrounding library buildings, and this is one of the libraries for the Humboldt University. And then across the street there is a City of Berlin Public Library, the building in the center. And next to the Berlin Library is one of the main campus buildings for the Humboldt University. And I'm also getting closer to the Fernsehturm TV antenna tower there in the center. I'd say I'm about maybe a half mile away, and I'm still on the main boulevard for downtown Berlin that leads to the Brandenburg Gate. And anyhow, getting back to the Bibelplatz, this is the location where in 1933 the National Socialists raided some of these same libraries, and they gathered up over 20,000 books to be burned in the center of this plaza. And they actually still have a memorial that details the events of the book burning, roughly right in the center of this plaza where those people are standing. And there's also other interesting buildings in this area. This pinkish looking building is the Berlin Opera. And then next to the opera, the large building with the dome, that is the St. Hedwig's Cathedral of Berlin. And that is a Catholic church which was built in 1747 by Frederick the Great. And it was damaged by fire during the Second World War and then rebuilt, and it is currently closed again for renovations and has been closed since 2018 and is rescheduled to open next month in November. And next to the Catholic Church, the building with the flags on the front, I can recognize the British and German flag at least. That is the Hotel de Rome, which is a 4.5-star hotel, and the price for tonight is approximately $387. So this is still a rather expensive area. Now getting closer to the Fernsehturm TV antenna tower, and just stopped here in this area to view some really nice architecture. And this is the Berliner Dom, which is a 19th century Catholic church. And next to the Berliner Dom is the Altes Museum, and the word Altes is German for old one. And this was constructed between 1825 and 1830 and was built to display only high art. And the Altes Museum still functions as a museum today. And it looks like they have a live band in front of the museum this afternoon. And then this entire area here just opens up into a public square. And the building directly behind me, I can't really find out too much information from my map other than it is part of the Humboldt Forum, though It looks like at one time this also could have been a palace, perhaps, as it looks like a very exquisite looking building. And I finally made it to the Fernsehturm Tower here in the heart of East Berlin. And this was built in 1969 by the Soviets and is a 1,207 foot tall tower, which functions as both a TV broadcast tower for the city of Berlin, and it also has both an observation deck and a restaurant near the top of the tower. And then this whole open space area in front of the tower is called the Alexanderplatz and was named after Russian Tsar Alexander I, and that translates into basically Alexander Plaza. So apparently at one time both Germany and Russia were allies, or at least they were in the war against Napoleon. And just right in this area there's other interesting historic buildings. This is the Old Berlin Town Hall, and it's a rather neat looking building. It even has a clock tower, and the clock looks to be accurate. It's getting a little bit late here. It's almost 6:30, and across from the town hall is the St. Mary's Christian Church, and they also have this nice water fountain, and a lot of people just out and about enjoying a nice Sunday evening here in Berlin. This is the Berlin Hauptbahnhof train station, which is located near downtown Berlin, and just maybe 2-3 blocks away there is the Reichstag building. So this is within pretty easy walking distance to pretty much everything in downtown Berlin. And the word Hauptbahnhof is German for main station. So again, the Berlin main train station, and this is a rather unique building in that it is almost all entirely glass. Even the roof of the building is glass, and it basically looks like a giant glass cylinder, perhaps. And this is Germany's 4th largest train station, and approximately 350,000 people pass through here every day. So it is a pretty busy place. And one other thing that I find interesting about Berlin and just Germany in general are the kind of cars the taxi drivers drive. And if you come here to the train station or airport, someone in a nice shiny new Mercedes-Benz like this one might pick you up. And though not all the taxis are Mercedes, I see a Toyota and then a Volkswagen car. And one other thing that I found about the taxis here in Berlin are they are a bit expensive. I would say expect to pay at least about 50% more than you would in the United States to take a taxi here. And now inside the Berlin main station, and as you can see, it's a rather large building, and I believe it's at least 4 different levels. There's a top level there that those tracks go east-west, and then there's a basement level going north and south, and there's a train down there right now. And then in between there's at least 2 other levels. So this is a pretty big place, and they also even have a supermarket in here. You can do your grocery shopping, and they also have a lot of other little stores. So if you have extra time waiting for your train, you could do some shopping while you're in here. Here is the Reichstag building, which was built in 1894 and is home to the German Parliament, which is the equivalent of Congress in the United States. And this is the same Reichstag building which was badly damaged by fire in 1933, and the German government, or more specifically the National Socialist Party or Hitler's party, used the fire as an excuse to revoke all German civil liberties, thereby giving Hitler dictatorial powers. And we all know how badly that ended for Hitler and the country of Germany. And then following the Second World War, the Reichstag, which was then located in the Allied zone or West Berlin, was later partially rebuilt in the 1960s and was primarily used for special events and exhibitions. And it wasn't until after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 that the Reichstag would be completely rebuilt, and then in the 1990s was used as a official federal government building. And one other thing that's interesting about the new Reichstag is at the very top there is a glass dome on top of the building, and that is supposed to symbolize the idea of a transparent government, that now the German people can see what their government is doing. And one other thing that's interesting is if this building was located on the Allied side, if you walk a little bit further up, you can see the Brandenburg Gate, which is right there with the chariot and horses on top. And that was located on the Soviet side. So at one time, the Berlin Wall, when it came through here, it must have curved right here where the street is, right in front of the Reichstag, to permit this building to be on the Allied or West Berlin side. And this large field of concrete blocks is the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe, which was built in 2004 and is a tribute to the victims of the Holocaust. And the memorial consists of over 2,700 concrete blocks on over 4 acres of land here in downtown Berlin. And the memorial is located right behind the U.S. Embassy, which is this building right here with the American flag flying on top, and that would be the back of the U.S. Embassy. Anyhow, the memorial to the murdered Jews is intended as an abstract work of art which represents an ordered system that has lost touch with reality, and it is a bit of a maze of these concrete blocks which are set at different elevations, and it is a rather interesting exhibit to observe. And this is the hotel that I've been staying at for part of my stay here in Berlin. This is the Moxie by Marriott, and this is their airport location. And though it might say airport, it's in a rather isolated area. There's maybe one other hotel and an office building here, and there really is nothing else around here. And the airport is about 1 mile up this road, and the only transportation to the airport is either a hotel shuttle that they charge about $10 each way for, or there's a city bus that comes by once every hour, or you can just walk the 1 mile, which is basically what I've been doing to catch the subway and train into downtown Berlin. And except for the location, this is otherwise a pretty nice hotel. So let's go inside and check it out. And here is the hotel lobby, and the check-in counter also doubles as a bar and restaurant as well. And this is my room at the Moxie. It's a pretty standard hotel room, though everything does appear to be newer. Has a queen-size bed and a view of the open field across the street and a airport parking garage. And then the restroom is back towards the entrance, and also just a standard hotel bath with a shower. Excuse the mess. And the current nightly rate is $92 per night, which is quite a bit cheaper than most of the downtown Berlin hotels. So even with the inconvenient location, I would stay here again. I'm now over by the Brandenburg airport, and one thing that I find interesting about this part of Germany is what it might have looked like before the city of Berlin was all built up. And here's this stand of, it looks like pine trees perhaps. So at one time this area was a pretty dense forest, and now it is all cleared and industrialized. Grocery shopping in Berlin. I'm at the Riva supermarket here in a small strip mall in Berlin, and just going to do a quick shopping trip. And overall, I have found that grocery prices are pretty similar to what they are in the US, maybe a little bit more expensive here. And there are a few things that they do differently, such as this is the bakery section, and I don't see, they usually have these slices of pizza just right with the bread and just sitting out. It's not heated or cooled. That is one different thing that they do here, but apparently they are sold out this afternoon. And more bakery section. Just looking for a loaf of bread. And there's one there for about $2.50. And one at the top is a bit cheaper, $1.50 for a loaf of bread. Next is the produce aisle. Apples are about $1.50 a pound. Grapes are $2 a pound. And peaches about $2 a pound as well. And here are oranges. Those are about $1.50 per pound for the oranges. And then also something else they do differently is how they sell the eggs. And these are also just on the shelf, and they sell them in packs of 10 for about $2.50. And more produce, a head of lettuce is about $2. And next is the dairy, and here they sell 1 liter containers of milk for about $1 each. And then they also sell milk by the glass container for about $1.70, and they really don't have any containers larger than 1 liter. I have not seen even half gallons, and certainly not 1 gallon containers here. And this is the yogurt section, and they also sell these yogurts in glass containers, and these are about $2 each. And then they have, looks like pudding. These are about $1 for those containers. And here's prepared lunch meats, various hams, and those are about $2 per pack. More lunch meat, salamis, also about $2 a pack. And how much do those weigh? Those are about 150 gram packs. Cheeses, about $2 to $4 a pack for the cheese, and those are in roughly 100-gram packs. So that's about a quarter-pound pack of cheese for $2. And here's some deli items. Cartons of potato salad, about $2 each. And here's meats. A mackerel. They have $5 for those mackerel, and each one is about 1 pound, so roughly $5 per pound. And poultry section, let's see how much a whole chicken is here. It is $6 for a whole chicken. And now in the liquor aisle, and they have quite a selection of liquor here, and they even sell these bottles of beer in singles, and these are all about $1 each. However, I do not see any Budweiser or Coors Light, so Germany apparently does not import their beer, at least. Maybe other liquor they do. I think I saw Jack Daniels. And here's some Coca-Cola, and these bottles of Coke are actually more than the beer. They're about $1.50 each.